Okay, for some reason the mobile cut out because when you're on a roll, that's what happens. And so now I have no idea what I was even saying. But it doesn't matter. Um, I'm just trying to explain something. But as usual, because the mobile went off, which it shouldn't because I've got plenty of space to record at the moment because I deleted all the videos. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I was just going to use this song. For some reason, I don't even know why, I've done it before. Um, but I was going to mention something and now they've took it from my mind. And I say they've took it from my mind because they actually have. Because you see, if I can't concentrate properly, I'll just have to hope that it comes back to me as I talk for a bit. And I'll have to talk fast and forceful because I don't know if it'll cut out again. It probably will. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Look, what I was going to say was this at the start of that other video, because I wasn't even going to say any of this. It just comes to me when I turn the mobile, and I was going to play the video because the lyrics of the video are more impressive than what I can put together. But at the same time, this is what the reality is, as I now see it just now. Even though I've been aware of it in a way for quite a few years now. But this reality is like this. Everything on the internet, on the computer, is connected to my mind. I think they call it I saw it come up for me. So these things come up for me and they hope I won't get it. I think they call it a internet neural web. I saw it come up and I was going to put it as a title on the video, but I forgot. And I think that what that means, well, this is what's happened anyway, okay? So it doesn't matter if that's the correct term or not. But the computer, everything that's on the computer or the internet, and the YouTube in particular, because I'm only on the YouTube, is connected to my mind. They read my mind, they take all my thoughts and put them onto the internet. This is what they do with real human beings. Most people are not real human beings, so not all their thoughts. And also it will depend on whether they think they can use it or not. Because when you become aware, where they show you the truth and they come down on you with their control, patrol system around you, essentially they've took control of your mind. They're bringing your frequency and vibration down, so therefore they can use your mind so that you create a negative reality around you. That's essentially putting it at a very advanced level, which even I don't understand, but it just come to me just before I turned the mobile on. Of course, I'm aware that all my thoughts are being transferred onto the internet and the computer, because when I watch the YouTube, I was just watching the YouTube an hour ago, just before I turned this mobile on, and I was watching the tarot readers. Because the tarot readers tell you everything you need to know, usually, especially if it's about personal things, anything that's on your mind. And they'll tell you stuff about someone or something else and even what's going on in your life. They won't tell you all this stuff that's going on, like with me, no. But they will tell you about your personal relationships. Sometimes. Depends on what's on your mind, who's on your mind, that sort of thing. But either way, it also depends on what tarot and what things I go on to. But either way, I noticed over the last few days, and this shows you that even the tarot readers that are basically telling you the truth, like the truth tellers, like your like your philosophers, like your psychologists, like those telling you about, you know, the different, you know, even telling you almost exactly what I'm saying. They are all your demigods. They are. Because that's what a matrix is, you see. It's a control system around a real human being only. All the rest are part of it. They're playing the game. They're part of the game, but they're not the target of the game. They're not the centre of the game, because in order to control the matrix or control the reality, they have to control the human mind. But only the human mind, mainly, that has the potential to raise the frequency and vibration, to give out good energy. Because even if you turn very psychopathic and narcissistic in your personality, in other words, that becomes your psychopathy, your person, even though you might express like an imitation of life, like they do, where they pretend to be the opposite of that. They pretend to be very human, but they don't feel that. That's why they like to get in the company of real human beings. One, to get negative energy off them, because they're essentially negative if you're very psychopathic, but also to learn your traits, to learn your personality, to copy your finer points, your better qualities, so that they can copy, mimic them, and then become a very good imitation of you or life. Because if you only have negative personality traits, like if you're psychopathic, you don't experience the positive human traits. You've discarded those. They've been knocked out of you by not facing your traumas in your childhood. That's what I'm told anyway, and I think this is probably true. They set up a false personality then as a defense, because they don't believe in the high vibration anymore, which is understandable. I would say that if you don't believe in love or even high vibration, and you've never experienced genuine high vibration like when you're very young, you may start to reject it even if you experience it, even say when you get a bit older, which is very unfortunate. And also it is playing into the God entity of this world's game. It's playing into that God's hands, as opposed to going back to your creator and being content and the best person you can be. Instead, you're playing with Lucifer's game, where the only way you can be any good in this world is if you're a demigod or if you're very successful in some way. But that may or may not bring you happiness, as we're told. I know we're told all these things. There's nothing wrong with being successful. It's good. But if that is your sole source of happiness and you are very psychopathic, it's not going to sustain you for long, because you're going to always need that happening all the time. But either way, I've lost my train of thought and I'm sounding like a know-it-all, when actually I see it, but I don't fully understand psychopathy. I don't. But I see it and I observe it. So I know it's there, and I know it's around me, and I know in personal reactions I've experienced it, I've encountered it, I've dealt with it, and I still do. Because in the area where I am, you know, if you either have totally artificially intelligent androids, that's essentially what an android is anyway. That's really just, we've seen that in the movies. An android is an artificially intelligent being, and usually quite intelligent. But they don't have human traits. They don't have human feelings. They have cold feelings. They imitate feelings only to survive and to control and extract energy from real life. That's essentially how it works, but I don't think I explained it very well, because don't forget, you know, I see it, and I you know this happens because I see it in the personal reactions and in the people around me. But I don't actually personally experience it. Whereas when I talk about a human being, I know that I don't like feeling sad and that I want to be more happy. So I don't understand how, psychopathic people or even narcissistic people only wallow in sadness or negative emotions. They don't probably like it, but they essentially do like projecting it out onto others, and they essentially do like bringing other people down. That gives them that makes them feel, that's like their fix of happiness almost. That's why we've been told it's a reverse world, because that's not how normal human beings operate. Usually human beings have to be, of course, if you're psychopathic and you're a very narcissistic type of person, you will see everything as a payback, as revenge, because if you are slighted by every little thing, you know how human beings sometimes get a kick out of getting back at someone if they've really wronged them. They feel justified, and it almost, it certainly doesn't make them feel sad if they see someone else lose out if they've been, say, wrongly hurt by someone. But if you're a psychopathic type of a narcissistic person, or if you are a total android, you are basically watching a human being all the time, watching to be slighted, watching for an excuse or a reason to vent your anger and to seek revenge. That's what they do with me, because basically I'm minding my own business, just doing basic things, but they're watching for things that they can interpret as you trying to harm them or one-up them. I've mentioned how if I throw a bit of bread for the birds, they in their psychopathic artificial mind, they see that as competition. They don't think that you just do it. They don't even care if you just do it because you've got leftover bread. You think, why not give it to the birds? Or even if they think that you love doing it, which is probably what they do think. But basically they don't care about that. They think you are trying to outdo them. They think you go out there to get the limelight, to make out you're a good Samaritan, you're better than them. That's why they copy and do these silly little things. But basically you can't live your life, because even if you're doing just simple little things, they will think that you're deliberately doing that only to make them feel less. They don't think you're doing it because you like birds or because it makes you feel good. They think you're doing it deliberately to them, because androids or even psychopathic people, especially the narcissistic type, they think that everything centers around them. They think that everything that happens around them is getting at them or is focused on them. They don't think that you're just an individual human being getting about your business, that you don't even know they exist, or you wouldn't know they exist if they didn't make their presence felt by deliberately stalking and patrolling and hassling you. Because that's what stalking and patrolling is. It's deliberately infringing on your movements and on your mind. You can no longer just basically walk down to the shop and get your groceries. You know, you can't concentrate, and if you could avoid, like if it was just stalkers on foot, they have every car doing it, with their lights in your eyes. Everywhere my eyes look, I will see a car light, whether it's day or night, and nighttime it's exceptionally bright, and they especially like to leave the one headlight, which is indication that they're in alliance with the one-eyed God of this reality. The God entity that rules this reality is like them. They're one-eyed. They only see it their own way. And the way they see it in their one-eyed way is the world revolves around them. They are God-like, and actually they're not. Because they don't have the potential for the higher frequency, they're actually less godlike. Sure, they control real life, so that makes them feel powerful and godlike, but they actually, in themselves, if they weren't part of this base that's around me, or even anywhere else in the world where this takes place, and if they weren't trying to control you, they would have no ability to affect the reality at all. They control by force and control and intimidation and stalking, patrolling, surveillance, tracking, all this sort of stuff. Watching all the time, waiting to get angry over the smallest thing because they're micromanaging. I cannot go anywhere without someone being in my sight to where they're watching me, to where I know they're watching me. Not at any time. Even in the park, sometimes in the past, if you walk through the park at 2 or 3 in the morning. But last night I walked through there very late, and you know, you wouldn't normally see, yes, okay, so I've always been a person that does that, a bit of a night owl, that sort of thing. But most women would not walk through that park. It wouldn't be safe. But they know they're safe because they're part of the controlled patrol system. You know, you'd say, well, I'm not going to go into why I would think. Look, to me, it was peace. That's why they came down on me, because I prefer being on my own quite a lot of the time. Maybe that's part of their control over my life too, because maybe you're not meant to be on your own. Maybe it'd be better if you did communicate more with people, like when I'm talking now. You know, I'm not talking to anyone, but the thing is that if you can give people something that may benefit them, you know, that's why they like it if you're antisocial. But because it's the end time, and because I became aware of things, and because I deliberately was consciously trying to raise my mood when I realised this, you see, the frequency and vibration thing with the human being, I'm like, the only way I can change or defeat the anti-life, or at least get back control of my own reality a little bit, is by raising the frequency and vibration, and therefore being happy. But of course, that's what the system around you is about, is keeping you under control so you can't accomplish that, so you can't be satisfied in yourself in any way, and therefore they have control over your mind. But either way, I've lost track of this here. I've got confused again, so I'm not making sense again, unfortunately. I was just going to say, though, before I go on to, yes, the reality is that they have totally taken, the internet is a total mind control thing, and it is totally connected to my mind. They know every single thing I'm thinking, and they relay it back onto the internet. I don't know how they do this because it's advanced technology. It is a network, that's right. It's a web. It's a spider's web for a human being, because they have got your mind connected to the internet, to the YouTube, to the computer, all the different sites, I would imagine. I'm limited because I only watch the YouTube. But even, like, I'll just use an example of it. You might say it's coincidence, but this is not coincidence, because it happens every day on every video. Okay? I could watch 10 videos a day, every day, on just one thing, and particularly if it's something I know about, because obviously I only watch things that I'm interested in or where I'm trying to get information. But basically they're relaying the truth back to me from my own mind. But they're using my human mannerisms and my humanness to connect, to try to connect with my mind, so that the human being is being connected to the computer. That's what they call transhumanism. And that's what's happened, and that's what they do with me every day. Just use an example, because I watch the tarot readers. I could turn a tarot reader, anyone on right now, and they will tell me about something I want to know. But because they know it's the end time, and because they want to be like the truth tellers, because they will be telling you the truth, but they want to be seen as a human truth teller, not an android demigod truth teller, not an android tarot reader. That's what they really are. Either that, or one or two. you know, because they make out that they're like connected to your soul tribe. That's right. So that way you believe them. Now, I may have, you know, see, that's what they want to do. They want to put the doubt in my mind that maybe one or two that I watch, when they do say something that I know relates not only directly to me, but they're using my language, they're using my things that happen to me. Like, for instance, I noticed just recently, because most tarot readers just read and tell you about your relationship and how it's going, and they might give you information about someone that you only suspect, but you're not 100% sure. And so that's why you watch them, you see, because you're like, oh, I'm in the dark about some relationships. I don't really know what that person might be doing. I know that there's something wrong. Most people around I recognise to be very psycho, so, you know, part of like around me locally. But if I couldn't interact personally with someone, supposing I, you know, didn't interact personally to where I could get the full lowdown. And don't forget that even as they will tell you about the psychopathic, even narcissistic personality disorder, these people are they basically are pathological liars. They don't tell you most of what they're really doing until it suits them. You won't know any underhanded things they do. They tell you what they want you to know, because that's what a psychopathic type person does. It's about camouflaging, using and putting on a false front, you know, being a false person in order to manipulate, gain control and get whatever they want out of a human being. We've mentioned before that most of them are energy like vampires if they have the narcissistic personality going on, which is exactly like the God entity, but it's also consumed with, you know, with the need for always seeking revenge, always having contempt for someone that they may or may not know. Sometimes they even, like, I mean, you could be married to someone and dearly love that person, but if they are psychopathic and narcissistic in nature, that person will not value that at all. In fact, they will just be there to take from you. You know, they'll probably marry, a good example, I suppose, of that, without getting too detailed or too dirty about it. You know, that'd be a good example, like in the old movie Gaslight, because gaslighting is another technique they use. Like that man was married to this wealthy lady, and he basically just wanted to gaslight her into going crazy so that then he could have her institutionalized, or get rid of her to where she may be departed somehow. I forget the exact details, but and then he could take all the money, you know. And but essentially what I'm saying is the relationships are always what they call, where it's you give, I take. In other words, they take something from you. It's never like an exchange. It's never like it's never about liking the personality. It's about liking the personality in order to imitate it, copy it, as the androids do. Exactly the same thing. Psychopathic people need to be very careful in the sense that they will very much like the idea of transhumanism and combining with the computer. Maybe, I'm guessing that only in the sense that the information that comes on the computer makes them feel powerful and makes it easier for them to, you know, to therefore, you know, have more control over human beings, because it's more impressive if you're more intellectual or you understand human beings more. There's a whole lot of reasons, you know. It's all, you know, we know what that is. But either way, I was going to say that with the tarot readers, over the last couple of days only, and Plane is going over just as I say that, which means I am correct. See, I had a slight doubt, because sometimes the demigods or even your tarot readers will be so personable that I'll relate to them. And I think, that's a very pleasant person. That's a very likeable person. They have a great style. They talk well. They talk, they're like the psychopath, very charismatic. very charming, very attractive. That's why they have all different demigods and different tarot readers, different singers, different songwriters, different artists, different actors. They're all actors, but they're all different actors. That's why we have all different actors, because different human beings will be more attracted to one actor or one style of personality in a person than another. But anyway, I've watched a couple of different tarot readers that style gets me in, even though I am doubtful, and actually acknowledged for sure that I thought some of them were definite android demigods, or, you know, psychic readers. When I say psychic, they say they are like reading energy, but they're actually connected to the network that is connected to my mind. They're basically just reading my thoughts, stealing my ideas, stealing my personality, stealing my identity, or parts of it, whatever they think is going to get them or keep them in a position of some control, even on the internet, whatever field they're in. But anyway, with the tarot readers, because they're like truth tellers too, at least if you go into the ones that proclaim to be spiritual, or proclaim to be using the cards to show you the truth or the universe, or enlighten you on your personal relationships and the future, so that you won't fall. And so therefore, and because they do know what's going to happen, because they're reading your part of your future mind. Because like I say, the human mind has been closed off. I only have a small bit of my real human mind. I can't see the future, but the artificial ones have been given full access at this end time to the full human mind. This is what we don't understand. This is what I understand, because I see it happening. If I turn on a tarot reader or any other site, whether it be a psychologist talking about the things that I'm trying to understand, obviously I've been trying to understand the androids around so that I could protect myself. You cannot protect yourself, because you can't win, you can't even placate them, because if they take offence at you just living even remotely, if they take offence just when you're walking down the shop and they think that the way you walk is trying to steal limelight from them, for instance, even though you may not be swinging your hips like, some very attractive girl. No, not when you're my age. Like my arm was almost like I couldn't move it the other day. And I see this really young girl holding her arm stiff as though she's got a paralysed arm. I won't tell you what else I saw in connection with my arm, because you probably wouldn't believe it. But basically they'll go to any extent to imitate even negative things, because they think it associates, you see, with the human, because they want to combine with the human, with the transhuman, so that they can get more life, so they can get more longevity. This is the trick. This is what we've been told. But a lot of people probably, if you don't actually believe in anything spiritual, or even like in the reality that maybe life goes on, well, then you're not going to see the purpose in that. So you're going to say it's not true, which is what I would have said too. A few years ago, I would have said exactly the same thing. I would have said, well, look, I wouldn't be frightened of the computer taking over my mind for longevity, because I'm going to pass on soon anyway. That's how I would have looked at it. And I still feel that, because when your body's bad, you find it very hard to believe that there is anything else, because your mind's closed off. If you could remember the past and see the future, which you're meant to be able to do, human beings would not be in the dark at all. I wouldn't be full of fear, because you would know that that what you have pieced together, that you do know it's true, even in fact, but you still haven't actually, I'm not able to retrieve past memories, and I can't see into the future like the psychic androids can. But either way, before I run out of space, and if I can play this video, the tarot readers, I just watched one an hour or two ago, and two lots of the same one, and then I watched a couple yesterday of a different reader, and they both said the same thing. You know what they said? And this shows you how they're trying to latch on to me, because they're supposed to be like, you know, they're now pretending to be even more human, because actually if you're a tarot reader and you're a spiritual human being like they proclaim to be, where they're in slightly higher vibration, which they should be if they have all that knowledge, and if they're doing the right thing, you know what I mean? And if they're not totally targeted. But instead, they actually, like one of them actually said, oh, see how, you know how I always say how the neighbourhood and the neighbours around here are all part of the control system, and that they make all the noise and everything. Well, that's actually what the tarot reader said. Just when they were halfway through their reading, they said, oh, please forgive me. I apologise for my very negative, noisy neighbours that are trying to override me doing the tarot reading. And I couldn't hear anything, but it probably wouldn't matter because they could easily get someone to make some noise. But today, when I listened to another tarot reader, which I hadn't even listened to for quite a while, I watched 2 videos and the same thing. They actually sort of said, oh, and because you see, I need to get out of this area because of the neighbours and the stalking and the negativity and the psychopathic nature. And this tarot reader actually said the same thing, and actually sort of said that the energy that I'm getting from this person, which was like me because it's meant to be a reading for me, they're saying, oh, I could really get on with this person, the vibe, because you see, they want to get onto your vibe, they want to get into your energy, they want to get into your mind, they want to combine with you. And he's actually saying this. But then he also said, and yet in another video, he said, oh, I'm very happily married and I've got everything goes right in my life. Nothing ever goes wrong because I know how to read the energy. But today he's saying the opposite. He's like, oh, I had a dreadful year last year, great health problems and all the rest of it. But, and this is also personal too, because they're meant to be just tarot readers. And then he sort of said, oh, my neighbours and things are causing real problems. So I think I might move out of this area now, you know. That's getting me in, you see, to say I'm a real human too, and I'm being targeted, and the neighbours are negative, they're a bit psycho or this. Well, actually, he's actually didn't say psycho, he actually implied the narcissistic, because he's like, oh, they're very entitled, and that's another way of saying like where I am, where they think they have to have control. That's like the bully, stalking people that basically think they're entitled to do that. They think they're entitled to your energy. They think they're entitled to walk past you and make you angry and intimidate you and make you uncomfortable just for walking a block or two and get your energy, because they know that you're not going to be happy. They know that even if you did give them a smile, that it would certainly be strained and false because you're not feeling it. The only reason you don't want to show them the anger, because that is great satisfaction. They want you to lash out, because then they consume what I've been told is the more potent, stronger, negative, angry energy. They prefer that because they know that you're not going to worship and love them and give them the adulation. No, that's for the internet. That's for the demigods. That's even where I would give it, because they're more intellectual, they're more knowing, they're more creative, they're more this and that. They're the best of. That's why they're called the demigods, because they're the best of what the God entity, the one that they would call Lucifer, but it doesn't matter with the name. In fact, once you use a name, it puts you only into a certain religious kind of thing. And that's probably incorrect, because they probably changed the names, and it could apply because there is truth in all religion. That's how religion gets people in. The same way that the truth tellers on the internet get people in, the same way the demigods have got me in for the last few years, because how can you not listen to someone that's enlightening you, informing you, giving you knowledge, telling you truth? It's only when you realise that they're retrieving it They're not experiencing it, they're part of the matrix, but they're retrieving it from your mind, and they're using your, like I mentioned before, even now they're wanting to pretend that they are like a human being, even the tarot readers, even though they should be above it if they're spiritual and they're tarot readers, because if they can see the past, present and future, which they clearly say they can, you know, they're reading the energy, they're psychic. Whereas my psychic ability is denied me. Obviously, there's synchronicity, what they call synchronicity around me. And some people would say, well, that's because really human beings have psychic ability or can see things and are shown things. But because we don't acknowledge our place or what we really are, or even our importance in a way, it's like even psychopathic people, if they're still human, they will have indications around them of things that could happen or things. But like myself, they will dismiss it. They won't look at they won't look at a sign or something, and it might, like I've mentioned this before with the synchronicity, where I've observed synchronicity. Sometimes I try not to look at things because I never know if it's the matrix trying to influence me with leaving stuff around, say, you know what I mean, like indications around, like say a billboard that might tell you something. Or if it's myself trying to tell myself something, you see. So that's where they confuse you too, because you become so gaslighted by all the cars around and the stalking and the patrol and the noise and everything, you know, the sight and sound show that they use to control you, that you're not clear and focused in your mind to get even the proper synchronicity a lot of the time, and you're unsure of your own self, of your own abilities. That's how I am. I see things and I'm like, I have doubt still, even though, you know, as the plane is going over, as I say that, as if to say, that's right, that's the whole purpose of all these people around the androids and this base that I'm living on, this military army base, human control centre. You know, you could say it's the hub of a certain religion. It's certainly controlled by the God of this reality that is controlling my frequency and vibration, therefore controlling my mind, therefore my thoughts, and thoughts create reality. So you see how it works? Of course I talk that, but because I'm a limited human being and feel very suppressed, even though I know this is true, I don't implement it. I don't feel it. I don't feel powerful in my reality. I'm just good at expressing it because I know it to be true, because it's happening to me and I see it. And I see it, like I say, if I turn this YouTube on like I got on now, turn any screen on, and my actual conscious reality and my conscious thoughts are relayed back to me. You know, I can't deny that they haven't connected with my mind, that the computer is a neural network, web, spider's web for a human being. And that is, and the reason for that is to, sorry about that. Oh, dear. Oh. You know, is what many people call transhuman. And a transhuman is, I would think, a human that has transformed their body and their mind into a duality android, more or less. All androids have a duality body, even though it looks like a normal human body, and it is, you know, a human body. It's flesh and blood. but it's been manipulated and changed. And once you mess with a human being, even at a body level, like if you change either whether it's created artificially or messed with by science in the process of making. I've said this before, I've said it, and I became aware of this a couple of years ago. Any human being that isn't created naturally, and usually in the spirit of high vibration or some form of love, shall we say, and most of us haven't. In fact, probably very few of us would have been. But it will depend on how much that affects you, but also whether you have been changed from also it depends on whether you are changed like from what you originally were, even in the body level. Like if you're a man, like supposing you're a boy, you're boy baby, boy embryo, and something happens like during the process before you come into the world. In other words, like while you're still developing, like say in the womb, in embryo, and say science like inject something into the body, possibly even the ultrasounds I've often thought that we've all had, that is normal to see the fetus, to see how they're going, might have some changing or negative effect on the embryo, the growing baby, while it's inside the womb, shall we say? Because all these things are part of natural creation. But if nature is messed with in any way, then you can have changes take place. And these changes then, when the baby comes into the world, like what we all do, and then if a negative environment is added to that, which is always going to be the case in this matrix, but some will have it more negative than others, and the more sensitive and the more human you are, the more you'll be affected. So in other words, the greater your potential for being a real spiritual being from when you're a baby, you're more sensitive. Therefore, the greater you will also be affected by positive or negative events that happen. So trauma and bad experiences or rejection, and not getting enough positive vibration, not getting what you're entitled to, which is love. Instead, like myself, you become a bad parent, to where you don't know how to, and it has to be continual too. It's no good. It's no good just doing it for a little while and then slacking off, like, But I'm just saying but that's also part of the guilt and the shame with yourself, but also it's passed on then, you see. So everything is generational. It just keeps going. And this is exactly how the God of this world wants it to be for everyone. For mothers, for sons, for children, for all of us. If you're a real person. If you're a total AI being, none of this applies. If you're an android, this does not apply at all. Because they're not brought into the world that way. They're machine beings. They're survival machine beings. They multiply different. They're only about survival. They're only about extracting negative energy. They're only about mimicking being a human being in order to survive in this apparently human reality. But it's really a human control or a human mind control reality. I've tried to explain it as best I can, but I don't think I'm doing it very well, and I am physically not doing well here at all. The plane is going over as I say that because it knows that if your body is hurting while you're trying to talk and concentrate on the spiritual and even on what you're trying to say, I'm forcing myself because I know that they're glad that I can't express it, and because that makes you angry, so you're like, well, they're on top anyway, you can't win, so in some respects you feel as though you've got little to lose, but at the same time you're losing energy, and it's feeling very hot in here. So I'm going to just I've lost my total train of thought and probably been nonsensical. I know that this is happening and has happened. It's already happened. It's just that, I've said this before in a few other, I think I said it before anyway, that it's already happened, this takeover by the computer and with the surveillance that's around most human beings. Some are aware of it, like myself, because it's out in the open for me only, whereas others it's covert. But that doesn't mean because you aren't being completely openly controlled by stalking and by a stalking system around you, by a tracking system around you. I say it's stalking because it's not just tracking to where they're just observing and going past in their cars. It's where they're stalking because they want you to know they're hassling you. They're drawing you in, keeping you in the mind control. They're controlling your mind because otherwise the vehicles wouldn't be making the noises. The buses wouldn't sound like bloody army tanks, and the garbage trucks would not only sound and look like army tanks, which they are, and the vehicles wouldn't always be making just regular, normal people in their so-called regular cars, which are not even normal, regular people because they're all of the one type and they're all combining with one another through technology, completely patrolling but intimidating and trying to make you angry and upset and to where you feel confined and restricted. I could walk a couple of blocks, even if it's with great difficulty, if I wasn't patrolled and stalked. I'd only be dealing with physical problems. And even those physical problems are caused because of me being brought down at a frequency and vibration level, which means like to where you're stressed and your immune system is so low that then they only have to send technology at you, invisible technology, which we know that the powers that be and the military have openly, I've seen this in videos, the military openly admit they have this technology. They use it even sometimes. What they don't tell you is that they use it on innocent, completely unknown, insignificant, old people like myself. Because they understand and they want transhumanism because they are part of that. That's their belief. That is what they are. That's how they operate. And it's a necessity for them. It's their survival. They're survival machines. They can only survive by bleeding off real life, by literally sucking the life out of real human beings, just like a vampire. They consume energy because everything is frequency, vibration, and energy. Human beings are frequency, vibration, and give out energy, depending on their feelings and their mood and their thinking, which is controlled by everything that's around you. This is how it's done from the day you come into this earth. We all know that. That's why many of us tend to not feel on top of the world most of the time. Circumstances and what's around dictate how you feel. Unless you've got to a very high spiritual level, or what some people would call like almost nirvana or enlightenment, to where, yes, you are in this world, but you're not of this world, you are less affected like myself with the plane about to go overhead over the house, won't come out in the video, to where you can ignore that. Obviously some things I can ignore, whereas other things, because it's everything, because it's when I'm inside the house, it's just a plane that shouldn't be going over. But if I go outside and you feel that everyone on the street, and this is actually that everyone on the street is part of the patrol control system, that they're all civilian stalkers, and that every vehicle is really a military army tank in disguise, using sound and sight with their bright headlights, their blinking flashing lights to distract and draw you into them, to where you have to look at them. But also they know where you're looking. So that's why I say they're reading the human mind and gauging not only what you're thinking in the moment, but what you're going to do in the next minute. That's how they're always in front of you. That's how I know, because when I look, like if I go out of a night and I look, my eyes, because it's a sight and sound control system, because the human being is controlled by their senses, sight and sound. If I look on the road, just wherever my eyes look, there will be a car with a light on, or a car flashing its lights. The flashing lights are even worse, but even the lights, and because the lights are extra bright, more bright than what is needed to be when they've got huge bright street lights, you are then drawn into that vehicle. That is part of the control patrol system. And then if your eyes look somewhere else and you see the bus coming with the flashing lights, or it'll usually be pulling in right in front of you, flashing the lights. But this is like a continual thing. And then where you look somewhere else, you look away from the traffic and you see a pedestrian. And that's a stalking, patrolling, surveillance officer disguised as a very average-looking human being. You know, they come in all different varieties too. There is no common denominator. The only common denominator is the uniform or the colours that they will wear in the workforce. That's where it's like very much a military, they would be directly part of the military, all those people, I would say. But also most are employed by the military too. Now, whether the civilians, because, like if I went outside right now and you saw that everyone on the street and everyone in their car and everyone in a bus, everyone in the semi-trailers, actually this is the case with the bus drivers and the semi-trailers, but if everyone in say just the regular cars, even not just like any company or any like I say, service, or, always do have jackets now with the colour on it. Supposing they're an orange jacket, they often are. Orange or green usually, but doesn't matter. But if every single person on the street and every single person everywhere out there all wore that same orange jacket, and I filmed it, a lot of people would say, there is a common denominator between every single person that's around her. But you see, only not all of them do that. That's why they have the civilians that dress just in regular clothes, even though they are probably male or female, but they're duality beings anyway, and most of them are androids, but either way, it doesn't matter. You could have like a girl on the street that is actually part of the military, that is actually an army operative. But because they're undercover, a bit like undercover cops or undercover police people, they wear civilian clothes as opposed to a police officer's uniform, so that they can mingle in and not be detected. And this is essentially it, because otherwise you would realise that in the city of Sydney there is a total that basically, you know, that it's a basically totally controlled, totally control, oh, totally, totally controlled area with every one part of it. Oh, I don't know if I can do this video. Oh, sorry. Oh, my body is feeling. Oh, the plane is going over.